Time for news abuse. We asked you to send us the most egregious examples of media bias and dumbness you have seen, and of course there's a lot to choose from. Lazy Cher sent us this headline from the Washington Post. Russian operation hacked a Vermont utility showing risk to U.S. electrical grid security, officials say. Of course, if you got to the article now, you'd see a huge correction on top. It turns out the whole thing was fake news, and not the only fake news in that highly fake newspaper. High Energy tweeted this headline from the Huffington Post. Donald Trump and his cabinet will trade on inside information as president. And yet the first sentence of the piece says this, and we're quoting, actually, I don't know that Donald Trump will take advantage of the inside information he will have access to as president, but no one knows that he won't. Which is the new standard, I guess. Can you disprove it? Okay, it must be true. Eric Pimenta tweeted this. The most egregious example of dumbness goes to Mr. Don Lemon at CNN, a bit drunk and awkward on New Year's Eve. Let's go to the tape.
Can we please not give him shots, by the way?
And then everything's pre-sterilized, ready to go.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm doing this.
Wow.
Hold on.
No,
Ow,
All right. Can tell us close up on the floor to leave because we're in New Orleans?
I'm a bad person to date. I'm not selfish. I'm not selfish. I'll give you my last, but I'm very self-centered. Yeah. I'm not going to be as self-centered.
That's right. Don Lemon got drunk on tequila and got his ears pierced live on CNN. It's hard not to kind of like Don Lemon. I'll admit it. I like Don Lemon. So florid. Well, tomorrow night, mean tweets are back. Send your cruelest in that highly fake newspaper. High Energy tweeted this headline from the Huffington Post. Donald Trump and his cabinet will trade on inside information as president. And yet the first sentence of the piece says this, and we're quoting, actually, I don't know that Donald Trump will take advantage of the inside information he will have access to as president, but no one knows that he won't. Which is the new standard, I guess. Can you disprove it? Okay, it must be true. Eric, that's the classic Christmas song, Baby It's Cold Outside. It was written during the Second World War, and it's been a Christmas staple ever since. But some people are now finding offense with some of those lyrics. The song has been characterized as, quote, rapey. Needless to say, there was a balderdized, politically correct version written and recorded with updated lyrics. Here's a sad sample of it.
What is this dream? Pomegranate LaCroix. I wish I knew how. Maybe I'll help you to break this spell. I don't know what you're talking about. I ought to say no, you sir. You reserve the right to say no. At least I'm gonna say that I tried. You reserve the...
Quick, which version is more appealing? That's rhetorical, of course. Joining us now, Vox reporter Emily Crockett, who's written a ton about both versions of the song. Emily, it's great to see you.
Great to see you too, Tucker.
Now, feminists, maybe unfairly, have had this reputation as humorless scolds, as you know.
Quite unfairly, yeah.
I'm not sure attacks on this song do much to fight that perception.
Sure. So I think your first problem is considering it an attack, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's...
Well, you called it rapey. That's not a positive.
Wait, did I call it rapey?
You said others have called it rapey.
Yeah. So what I did in my piece is I did two readings of it, right? So I did the rapey reading and the romantic reading. Because when I listen to this song, I honestly have sort of two reactions to it, right? Like in the context of the time, I think it's pretty clear that, women did not have much sexual agency in the 40s, right? Like women were not really allowed to express sexual desire or to, take initiative in starting, a sexual situation. And so they sort of had to play hard to get or had to just allow themselves to be seduced rather than, say, like, this is what I want. And so...
But the decision was fundamentally theirs, wouldn't you say?
Well, sure. Well...
So wouldn't that put them in control?
Wouldn't what put them in the control?
Well, if the decision is yours, you're not a passive victim, you're in the driver's seat. If the question is, do you assent or not, if someone's trying to persuade you, that suggests it's your decision.
Well, so that's an interesting way of putting it.
Wasn't that true?
There's a difference between, so like putting pressure on a woman to have sex is just not cool for a variety. Like there's a difference between like a negotiation and, a predation. Right. So when you look at the original version of this song, the interesting thing is that the man's part is labeled wolf and the woman's part is labeled mouse, which is like, oh, that's kind of creepy. But so, I mean, there's when you listen to this song...
Why is that creepy?
Because, like, it's like making the man a predator and the woman a prey.
But
like, instead of
isn't seduction about ambivalence? On some, I mean,
it doesn't have to be.
Okay, so if it's not about ambivalence, it's not seduction, though, right?
Well, so the question is, is seduction the ideal?
Okay.
Right? Like, so the question here is, do we want women to have sexual agency? Do we want women to have a say? Right? Do we want women to just sort of to always only be pursued? Because really, when you look at this,
I feel like I'm back at Vassar now in my feminist poetry class. Let me just. I didn't go to Vassar, just kidding. But
I didn't.
So you have this flash of self-awareness at the end of the piece, which I just loved. You said this. You did. This was the bright part of the piece. I thought at a certain point, spending hundreds of words close reading a Christmas song starts to feel a little silly.
Oh, of course.
What's the point of yelling at people on the internet about this? Mm-hmm. Do you wish you'd stop there?
No.
No.
Well, so it is a box explainer, right? Because this is a debate on the internet, and people have been hearing about it and reading about it.
Right.
And the reason I wrote the piece is that people might be curious why this is a debate. So the issue is that it's a debate over whether the song promotes, problematic ideas of consent, right?
Don't you think that's a debate that's completely confined to small groups of silly rich people?
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay. So here's my question. I mean, I want to take this seriously, and I feel there are threats to women's, as you put, agency and rights, and one of them is female genital mutilation, which is really common in the United States among immigrants and refugees.
Yeah.
Really common.
Yeah, but
hundreds of thousands of people at risk for that. I never hear feminists mention it at all.
I hear feminists mention it a lot.
You do? Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen a
yeah,
box
but also
piece
like
on it.
that is a just totally, that is a distraction from the issue. Like, just because there are worse things, we can't care about.
But that's
rape.
like the worst thing I can imagine.
I don't know.
This is a Christmas song that's like, yeah, okay, maybe it was written 70 years ago.
So here's the thing: culture matters, right? Like what we listen to, and I know conservatives feel this way too about culture, right? Like we worry about the signals we're sending our kids. And if the signal we're sending our young men is that it's okay to badger and pressure and not listen to a woman, not respect her.
Well, I'm against
when
that.
she says no. But if you listen to the song. So again, I have very ambivalent feelings about it. Right?
I can tell that you do, but isn't it maybe even a bigger threat to our country and our minds to politicize art relentlessly?
No.
You don't think it is?
Well,
so there can be no safe space from politics? Everything is about political ideology? Doesn't that make you isn't that a little Orwellian? No. A little bit.
No, so there is a difference between politicization and criticism and analysis and discussion. We should be able to analyze and discuss our culture without being accused of being PC police, right? That's silly.
Unless, of course, we are PC police, in which case I think it's fair.
Okay. We criticize something.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Emily, it was great to see you. You've transported me back to college. I think I got a B in that course. Hope I got a higher grade tonight. Thank you. Joining us now, the singers and the songwriters you just saw, the ones who wrote that updated version, Lydia Liza and Josiah Lemansky. Lydia, Josiah, thanks a lot for joining us.
Tucker.
Hey,
yeah, thank you for having
great
us.
voices, and I listened to your song about 5 times. You're obviously really talented. What was wrong with the original version? Why not just sing that? Seems a little better to me. Why didn't you?
Yeah, the original version, it's fine. We do like the original version as well. The thing is just that listening to it in our generation's context is definitely different from the 1940s context.
Yeah.
It sounds different to different ears.
So what do you mean by that? Sounds different is not good in this case, I have the feeling. Or you wouldn't have rewritten it.
Well, we rewrote it just as like a fun thing to do between us. We weren't necessarily offended by the first version. We just were listening through it and we were like, that doesn't sound so great when you take all the music away and the history of it. Today it sounds pretty creepy.
Pretty creepy. So, but I mean, you're young people. You live in the modern world. You hear hip hop and rap. I mean, explicit references to rape, encouragement to rape, is really common. In that music. Do you ever rewrite any of it? Yeah. Have you rewritten any Lil Wayne or anything?
No, and we're completely aware of that too. But again, it wasn't necessarily like an attack on anything. It was more just fun, and it seemed contextual because it's Christmas time and the song was on the radio a lot. And we don't agree with those types of lyrics at all in other songs like that. We don't condemn that at all. But I guess we weren't really out to change the whole world on this.
Or get rid of the original at all. We just wanted to update it to new ears.
So the critique has been that you made it less romantic, that while consent is obviously essential, and I don't think anyone would contest that, explicit legalistic consent maybe is less romantic than, say, implication or nuance. Do you see that?
Yeah, and we did that. We did it on purpose. I mean, we were trying to be like militant and funny about it. It was, especially the part where he says you reserve the right to say no twice. Yeah. We realized
no one's going to say that in a regular conversation, and we know that.
But what do I know? I'm 47.
No, that'd be weird.
But does it seem like we're in the middle? I mean, it's always important, I think, to remember that we're in an era, no matter where we're living or when, we're in a moment, and that maybe our current moment is a moral panic of a sort, where people are very easily offended, and a Twitter, and there's a lot of pearl clutching going on about this or that offensive statement. Yeah. Do you feel that? Would you notice that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. In the PC cops kind of stuff, like that really is going on right now, and people are offended because we're trying to have so many conversations at once with like the oversaturation of media and stuff. So it's hard to focus on one thing at a time, and so everybody gets upset about a lot of things at once because there's a ton to be upset about.
Yeah, a lot of information.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, all kinds of traditional children's songs, if you look at them through the lens that a lot of people are looking at this song through, it's easy to get offended. I mean, Yankee Doodle Dandy has a line in there about "with the girls be handy." Is that adding to rape culture, do you think? Or Mary Had a Little Lamb, is that insensitive, do you think, to the animal rights people? Does it feel that way?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's, you know, offensive or that's promoting rape, but I think it can't hurt to just update it. Just update it to a different song if you want to. Let's just kind of have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So like Yankee Doodle got the girl's consent before getting handy with her, sort of thing?
No, not necessarily, but I mean, it's you know, kids, everyone's afraid of what the kids are listening to, and they want to make sure that they're listening to good, wholesome stuff, and sometimes it can be taken differently than how other kids take it. So making one updated version as just an example of, you know, a good example of a respectful conversation, or the correct way to do something couldn't necessarily hurt.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the song Frere Jacques, right?
Yeah.
You know, Frere Jacques. I mean, there's a line in there where he's asleep and the morning bells are ringing and he doesn't wake up, and I'm feeling like, well, maybe that's a little insensitive to narcoleptics. Does that feel that way to you at all?
That was really funny. No.
Okay, good. Just a test. I just want to see we're on the same page.
I love it.
It's great to see you. And as much as I'm making fun of this, because I think it needs to be made fun of, you're obviously really talented, and I appreciate your coming on.
Thank you so much, Tucker.
Thanks, Tucker.
Really
Well, another report tonight from the American higher education arena in the Trump era. Tony Makula is a longtime math professor from the State University of New York at Geneseo. Shortly after the election, Professor Makula sent a mass email to about 600 of his colleagues, but addressed to unnamed Trump supporters. It began this way, quote, "So you voted for a candidate who embodies the white power movement and was enthusiastically endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan, neo-Nazis, and other white supremacy groups. I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask you the following questions. 1, do you believe in white power and the supremacy of the white race? 2, do you believe that a multi-ethnic and multicultural democracy can succeed? Yes or no? I will respond accordingly." Well, joining me now to expand on what he meant by all that is Professor Tony Makula. Professor, thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. The letter didn't start like that. The letter ended like that.
Okay. Well, that was in the letter. Then my apologies, but that to me that was the sort of meat of it. And let me ask you this: I watched the campaign
actually, the meat of it was the concept of civic responsibility.
Okay. Well, I'll ask you about that in just a minute. Let me get to your allegation that Trump embodies white supremacy and white power. I watched the campaign pretty closely. I never heard Trump say anything about white power or even allude to white power. I'm not sure I know what white power is. What did you mean when you wrote that?
Well, let me give you again the beginning of the letter, and then I can expound on that after that. So the reason why I wrote the letter is that silence in the face of civic irresponsibility is civically irresponsible. And I think casting a vote for a candidate who doesn't embody the ideals of the preamble of the Constitution, nor exhibits the values required of honesty, tolerance, equal protection, and respect, those values that are required to sustain those ideals, in my opinion, casting such a vote is civically irresponsible.
So you believe it's irresponsible to cast a vote for someone you disagree with, is what you're saying. Why can't it just be wrong? Why can't you just disagree? Why does it have to be irresponsible for someone to disagree with you?
They're responsible because we are charged to support the values of our Constitution. And one of the values, or one of the main points in the preamble is domestic tranquility. And that's the point where we get to white power.
Okay.
So, I mean, Donald Trump has retweeted white supremacist over 75 times. He's had opportunities to come right out and refute the support he's been given. He was just in North Carolina, and 2 days before he was in North Carolina, the KKK had a parade in his honor, and he said nothing about it. He hasn't taken opportunities.
Okay, I get it. So you're saying that bad people support him, and he hasn't disavowed them. That we used to call that McCarthyism, the idea that people were responsible for the endorsement of others or the physical proximity to others. I mean, if Kim Jong-un came out and endorsed you, you wouldn't be responsible for his regime, would you? If some campus shooter took your class, you wouldn't be responsible for the murders. That's an unfair standard, isn't it? Shouldn't we judge people by what they say? I mean, he had a year talking in public. Did he say anything to endorse white power, or didn't he?
Yes, he did endorse white power. I mean, he's essentially by deporting, by his building the wall. This is what really emboldened the white power movement, and realized that Donald Trump was their embodiment. They got excited when he decided to label all Mexicans as rapists and said he was going to build a wall. That's when they really felt like they had a champion.
Now you're a math professor, so presumably you deal in logic and linear thought, one leading to the next. You're saying that building a wall is prima facie evidence of white supremacy? Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure I understand you.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's just one thing. So
I'm asking you, look, you say that he embodies the values of white power. You're holding him responsible for the views of people he has disavowed and hasn't supported. And I'm asking you, can you name anything he has said that endorses the concept of white power? And you can't, can you?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay.
He retweeted a quote by retweeted a tweet by a guy by the name of White Genocide TM, and this tweet irresponsibly said that white murders were 81% of white murders were committed by African Americans. That's a complete falsehood, and Trump retweeted it. The correct percentage
so getting a crime stat
is 14%.
Or retweeting some creepy guy. And by the way, I don't think he should be tweeting in the first place. I'm not defending the guy's tweeting. I'm just saying retweeting a crime stat that's wrong is evidence of white supremacy. I mean, that's not a real argument, Professor.
I didn't call Trump a white supremacist. I said that he embodies their movement.
Okay.
That's what I said, and he does. And they actually claim him as their leader.
Right. Okay. I get it. So I just want to know, and this is a subject of fascination for me. You live in the university world. Presumably you have tenure. You've been there over 20 years. You get a guaranteed income, and you live in this little world. What would happen if
Hold on a second. One second.
Let me finish my question. What would happen if one of your colleagues sent out a mass email calling Black Lives Matter racist? They've actually excluded non-whites from their meetings. Trump has never excluded people who aren't white from his. They've excluded non-blacks, rather. And if someone said they're racist, do you think the university would really kind of stand back and say that's free speech? Or would there be consequences from the employer? There would be, wouldn't there?
I never called anyone a racist. I didn't make any assertions. No, I didn't make. Don't you know the difference between an assertion and a question?
No, I know what a weaselly inference is, and if you say the guy's responsible for the ugly views of people who support him, even though he's never articulated that views, you're inferring that he believes them. You say he's, quote, the embodiment of white power. You're calling him a bigot. Don't pretend, just say it out loud. Be a man about it. You saying he's a bigot, that's fine. I'm asking you to back it up.
I am, and I did back it up, okay? And I did back it up. He
retweeted some phony crime statistic? I mean, that's white power 2016? Are you serious? I mean, look, you don't have to like Trump. I'm not saying you should.
He's done many other things other than just retweet things.
Okay, well, I just gave you 7 minutes and you haven't told me what they are. So unfortunately, we're out of time. I wanted you to come forward and put some data behind this accusation that I'm hearing every single day, but you couldn't. So maybe I'll get another professor who's done his homework. Thanks a lot, Professor. Good to see you. Trump transition.
Fatality.
energy. You think he's, quote, the embodiment of white power. You're calling him a bigot. Don't pretend, just say it out loud. Be a man about it. Yeah. I mean, there's a line in there where he's asleep and the morning bells are ringing and he doesn't wake up, and I'm feeling like, well, maybe that's a little insensitive to narcoleptic. Does that feel that way to you at all?
That was really
No.
All right, look, we appreciate you coming on. We know how busy you are.
I'm loving it. No, I don't get tired. It's nothing, right? High energy.